As you know, the situation in Yemen continues to be quite difficult, and the nation continues to be in distress, and the United Arab Emirates and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is working very closely to try to alleviate the humanitarian suffering that continues to befall this country. Today, we are jointly announcing the release of $200 million of aid into Yemen, so that it could be spent in the weeks and during the month of Ramadan. So, in preparation for Ramadan and during the holy month, it'll be primarily for food that will be delivered by different UN agencies. For food distribution, we're working closely with the World Food Programme, and we're allocating $140 million. The money is also going to be focused on malnourished children and women who are pregnant and who are also nursing. As you also know, women represent a very important component of overall UAE aid projects. We're working very closely with UNICEF on this piece, and we'll be allocating $40 million to this end. And we, of course, have to ensure that the disease of cholera continues to be controlled and mitigated. And therefore, we're working closely with the World Health Organization to ensure that the communities across Yemen continue to have the necessary vaccinations, and we will be injecting $20 million to this end. So this $200 million commitment comes from part of the IMDAD initiative, which we announced jointly with the Kingdom in November of 2018. It was a $500 million commitment. And as you know, in February in Geneva, 2019, we announced $1 billion to be dispersed for Yemen. We will be announcing soon how that disbursement will take place. So net in all, in the last 4 years, since 2015, there has been a commitment of almost $18 billion dedicated to Yemen in the fields of food, healthcare, humanitarian aid, and development. But let's all please remember that this isn't just about money. This has to also be about hope. And we really hope that aid actually reaches those that need it, and that teams, and especially healthcare workers and humanitarian workers that are on the ground, are able to access this aid so that it can reach all the people in Yemen. And unfortunately, that is not the case today. As you know, the Stockholm Agreement has been violated many times by the Houthi militias. Our data confirms that it has been violated almost 3,000 times since December 2018, when the agreement was confirmed by the two parties. And every time we think we're close to some form of a breakthrough, we are all disappointed repeatedly. Let me talk to you for a second about the Red Sea mills. For weeks, if not months, the UN has been working very closely to ensure that access to the Red Sea mills is allowed. As you know, the Red Sea mills are in the Hodeidah area and have access to Houthi-controlled areas. And we had a whole team of World Food Programme workers, about 120 of them, confirmed to go and access these very precious grains last week so that they could be dispersed to people of Yemen. There are 51,000 metric tons in these silos in the Red Sea mills. 51,000 metric tons can feed about 3.6 million people, and they are valued at about $33 million. Unfortunately, at the very last minute, the Houthis denied access for these World Food Programme workers from actually accessing these mills. So as you can see, despite continuous effort and despite continuous commitment, access is going to be a really important component of ensuring that humanitarian aid reaches those that are in need. And our greatest aspiration and our greatest hope is that the peace agreement actually gets respected, and that we are able to deliver this urgent humanitarian aid to all of those that need it. Because if we have this peace, then we can actually go beyond providing simply humanitarian aid and move into rebuilding the economy and rebuilding the society so that all of Yemen becomes stable and all of Yemen becomes prosperous. We hope that this starts soon, and I do look forward to continually having such briefings with members of the press corps. I know you follow the situation in Yemen very carefully, and I look forward to our continuous engagement with you, hopefully in the next few weeks.
Announced in February, and now as that you just mentioned right now, it can reach all Yemenis.
1,000 teachers got their salaries. Those teachers were from across of all of Yemen, Houthi and non-Houthi alike. Some of them had on the disbursement of those funds, and it cost about $75 million. And as you can tell, most of the UN organizations to get the aid to where technology that we're actually looking at and looking at very closely with the WFP specifically. They have a few refugee camps in Jordan where they use blockchain to ensure that instead of using cash disbursement for people, one of the best and most effective ways to ensure
grains can be distributed, especially in the coming
deal with the Houthis to ensure that access to these mills are there. It's 51,000 metric tons, and it's valued at $30 million. From our standpoint, وأيضا تحاول أنها تحقق المصالحة بين جهات يمكن لا تريد المصالحة في الوقت الحالي. نحن في إطار جدا صعب مع اتفاقية ستوكهولم، والتي لم تنفذ إلى الآن بعد 4 شهور من توقيع ستوكهولم أو من الإعلان عن اتفاقية ستوكهولم. ولذلك نحن معتمدين كل الاعتماد على المبعوث الأممي مارتن جريفيث وعلى آليات الأمم المتحدة. لسنة 2019 أعلنا في جنيف في فبراير $1 مليار بين المملكة وبين دولة الإمارات. من ناحية القطاعات ال5 مليار اللي تكلمت عنها، حاولنا أن نغطي كل الاحتياجات الأساسية للشعب اليمني، إن كانت صحة، إن كانت تعليم، أيضا مشاريع صغيرة ومتوسطة تخص الصيادين. How and where to be able to do that in as safe a way as possible. But there aren't maps to that. So the last statistic I read was almost 1 million mines right now. And that will be 1 million very difficult stories for many people. But we're continuing that effort in a optimistic and in a determined way. We've done demining efforts, as you know, in Lebanon and Afghanistan. So we have a pretty sophisticated system, but we also have really good partners.